And so that's a linear graph there, and that's a quantum state graph, right? From one state of energy to another state of energy. So why listen to me? Like, who am I? Why should you pay attention to what I've got to say? So I've been a digital nomad for 2 years. I've actually lived that lifestyle. I've finally settled down in Vancouver. It's because it's the warmest part of Canada. If there was a Hawaii for Canada, I would be there. And so CEOs and founders of online companies seek me out for consulting, again, because I'm quite good at the online retention part. It's all referral stuff, so I don't have a company. It's all word of mouth, and that's how I get my business. I have a lot of expertise in online teams, in having teams work together. Almost all the teams I've worked with have all been online teams. I don't even know what it's like to work in an office. I was working from Japan or like wherever I was living in the world at the time. So yeah, online teams and communication within teams. Customer loyalty and retention strategies, and I'll talk a little bit about that, about once you get customers, how to keep them. And then I also had a product for a while, and I still do email management for founders and executives. All right. So when I was in Japan, I attended TEDx Osaka as an attendee, and I met a life coach there. And she said, well, what's your life goal, as life coaches do? What do you want to achieve in the world? And she said, well, why don't you draw that? And I said, well, what I want is to achieve this quantum leap in my life. And then I said, well, so what does that mean? I said, well, I want a job that's time and location independent, right? Because I knew if I had that, I could start traveling. I could immediately leave where I was going, whatever I was doing, and live anywhere in the world. And I would work 9 to 5, and at the end, I'd be in Italy, or I'd be in Dubai, or I'd be wherever I wanted to be. And so that's the life I wanted. So she had me draw my ideal future. So I'm not the best artist, but this is the actual drawing. I looked it up today in my email. It's got the date on there. Those are supposed to be dollar signs, but I didn't have, the iPad wasn't that great at the time. That's like little glowing signs around me there. That's me with a smiley face and my signature. And 6 months to the day when I drew this, I achieved it. So a very, very salient strategy is draw out your dream, whatever it is. All right. Want to get just a calibration again. How many successful entrepreneurs are there in the house? And what I mean by that is you have a successful business and you're generating income. Let's get a show of hands. Okay, so quite a lot of you. So this presentation is more geared towards the beginner who hasn't started anything quite yet. So for the ones who are successful, you may know what this is. This is a crucible where you take very hot metal and you forge it into something that is useful. Everyone here who's successful has been to this moment where everything doesn't work. All of your plans have failed. You're in like this horrible, horrible level of pain, which I've been through many, many times. So, but I've been up a lot and I've been down a lot. And for the beginners here that haven't felt this yet, it's part of the process. Like, you're going to fail so many times and it's going to hurt so bad. But the hurting is part of the growth that you're going to feel. So I had quit my job at the time, my English teaching job. I met another entrepreneur who met me and said, hey, you're an entrepreneur, quit your job. And I'm like, I don't know who you are, like, why are you saying this? And he's like, no, you gotta, I think he might have been drunk. He had me email my boss that night and just say, I quit. And I did. I actually didn't do it that night. I did it 3 days later because I was too afraid. And I emailed him and said, I quit, and I had no plan. Again, tried to start several businesses, failed at all of them. And then I had 6 months of trying, 2,000 yen in my bank account. For those of you who don't know the conversion, that's $20. That's not much. In this period of incredible suffering, for a moment, my ego subsided. And I thought, hey, listen, maybe I don't know as much as I think I do, and maybe I'm not an expert. So one thought changed, this one point of ego subsiding in this massive amount of pain. What if everything I know about success is wrong? And some of you might be in this trap of going after more content, coming to these meetings, finding networking, doing all these different things, but you're not actually getting success and not moving forward. And I was in this too. I was a content addict. I was listening to different things, more books, more everything. I just didn't want to be wrong. So my old thought process was, even though I know my way is not working, I'm going to keep doing it anyway. And how many of you are guilty of this? Just to keep on doing the same thing again and again and again, right? So, like, it doesn't matter. I'm smart. I know what I'm doing, right? So what was the new way forward? So take massive, massive action, especially with the feeling that you don't know what you're doing, because that's what it feels like when you're learning. When you're moving forward and you don't know what you're doing, that's what entrepreneurs often feel. They go and move with incomplete information. Right? So wanted to get a little bit of interaction here. What's the most important trait of a startup entrepreneur? Does anyone know? Persistence. Persistence? I actually got this from Eben Pagan in one of his talks.
Doing something.
Doing something, yes, but there's a specific part of doing something.
Speed of implementation.
Yes, exactly. Wow, very good. Yeah, speed of implementation is the #1 thing that entrepreneurs need to succeed. It's not what you're doing, it's how fast you're doing it. Because the faster you do it, the more mistakes you make and the quicker you learn. And so speed of implementation, and I've seen this so many times. In my position, I was, actually I got to get into that story a little bit now. So, so while I was in Japan and all these businesses had failed, and I finally had this ego subsiding of like, oh, I don't know everything I know. I thought, let me do what I see other people that are successful doing. So I thought, okay, I need money. I know people who have money. Why don't I ask these people for money? And so I analyzed the most successful websites I knew. One of them was musicteacherhelper.com. Another one was thefoundation.com. And I analyzed their product and said, and I emailed them and said, hey, your product sucks. I can do a better job than you're doing. You should hire me. And some of them were like, who are you? Some guy off the internet. I don't know why you're emailing me. And one of them, the guys at the foundation, they were like, I'm kind of interested. What's your pitch? And then after a month of emailing them, I got on the phone with them. They said, you have 2 minutes, pitch us. And I did, and I pitched them really hard because I had no money at the time, so it was like everything I had. And then it was just silence on the phone, and I was like, oh man, I think I pitched too hard there. But then after the silence, there was Andy came on the phone, and he said, he's like, dude, we're gonna love working with you. You're awesome. And I was like, yeah, and I'm gonna work for free for 2 months too. And then I knew at that point, so I got the job, and as soon as that phone call hung up, I was like dancing around the room because I knew I was immediately free from that point on, and it was a tremendous moment for me.